Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Mary Jo, are we there? Are you there?
I'm setting up the YouTube feed right now.
Okay, let me know when you're ready to go.
Okay. Okay, we're good. We're live.
Thanks, Mary Jo. All right, I'd like to go ahead and call the finance meeting to order. Mary Jo, can you please call the roll?
Ron Van Kirk,
Here.
Kathy Pucci,
She's excused this evening.
Andy Selhertz.
Here.
Okay. First item, Andy, any issue with these?
All good.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
To approve the minutes, Ron Van Kirk,
Yeah.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Andy, can you turn your volume up?
Okay.
All right, we have 3 notifications, so we'll just move through these rather rapidly. The first of which is a letter from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources. This is good news in regards to $150,000 grant being awarded for the Big Creek Greenway, the Memorial Park connector. We got an email this week on that, so that's good news with that. The next of which is a grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation for a speed trailer, and this is for. And then lastly is the grant for our tree planting with the Cuyahoga County Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Program, $17,595. All right. Under old business this evening, we have Ordinance 2021-13. This is the adoption of our new debt policy. It's up for third reading. Okay, I'll make a recommendation that council adopt.
Second.
To recommend council adopt, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Resolution 2021-15. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into a mutual aid agreement. Hold off on that one. All right, Resolution 2021-16. This is authorizing the mayor to enter a contract with McBride Dale Clarion, and this is for consulting services for the beginning the process of drafting our new zoning code. Mayor, did you want to add anything on to this right now?
So Jeremy took the lead on this project and introduce our guest.
Okay.
We get into introducing Liz Fields with McBride Dale Clarion. So in follow-up to the master plan recommendations, the city issued an RFP and then updating the zoning map as well. So that RFP was open from January proposals. In response to the RFP, with fees ranging from $45,000 to $130,000. The proposed RFP by an internal committee made up of Kevin Butler, Law Director Dave Colsar, who's former building commissioner, and me. The committee shortlisted 3 firms and we conducted interviews via Zoom on March 4th. Following those interviews, we decided to recommend retaining McBride Dale Clarion to complete the rewrite of the zoning code and zoning map update. So before you tonight is the legislation authorizing the mayor to enter into that contract with McBride Dale Clarion. The contract includes an Exhibit A, which is the scope of work. So council also received an email from the clerk of council with McBride Dale Clarion's complete proposal. If you wanted to take a look at that in more depth, Fields with McBride Dale Clarion. Liz is the project manager, and she'll provide a little bit of background on the firm and their experience doing this type of work. And then following her remarks, we'd be happy to answer any questions. And this is only going to be on the first reading, so we have time if there's any follow-up after this. So with that, I'll turn it over to Liz.
Great, thanks, Jeremy. Again, my name is Liz Fields with McBride Dale Clarion. McBride Dale Clarion, our firm was founded by Greg Dale and Ann McBride, who are kind of pillars in the planning community, especially here in Ohio. And our firm been in business a long time. MDC, we call it MDC. MDC is a planning only firm. We're about, I think we're 11 full-time planners now. And we are just planners. We're not architects, we're not engineers, we're not landscape architects. We all have our degrees in planning and focus on planning projects. About half of the firm works with public sector clients like yourself, in addition to, counties, townships, regions. We do a variety of comprehensive plans, area plans, zones. The other half of our firm focuses on development services and working for private sector clients. Some of our major clients are like Speedway and Kroger, and we work with them to help do, is the use allowed, is the zoning, working for their thing. So, a procedural standpoint, and kind of the actual users of the career in the public sector. I did 5 years as a city planner out in Colorado. I'm from Ohio originally though. And then I've been with McBride Dale for about 7 comprehensive plans and zoning codes. Recently, I just completed a zoning code for Delhi Township down here. I've also worked on the zoning code. It was the project manager for the update for Springdale, Ohio, Blue Ash. I've been doing zoning updates for Dublin, Hillsborough, of kind of our zoning work. We work with urban communities, rural communities on zoning, but also kind of, planning and everything that goes into, a code and what it means. With that, I think that's kind of the overview of us. I'd be happy to kind of elaborate on anything or, give you any more information.
When do you, once this is signed, how quickly is there are we in a hopper somewhere to get this work started, or are you pretty much jumping in right away as soon as everything gets signed?
We'll be, we're a successful firm. We're busy, but we have the capacity to work you in. So no, you're not in a hopper. We will fit you in with our other clients. We'll work with you on the timeline that you have. It seems like especially during the pandemic, on track on normal pace. So we'll work with you on whatever schedule and timeline.
Where you're
Yep.
planning on being. Okay.
Yep, and from our firm, again, I think Jeremy mentioned I'll be the project manager, but Greg Dale will be available kind of as an advisor as needed. He is fantastic with public engagement. And so we'll probably lean on him to come in for some of the engagement efforts with the public. And then we also have a planner, Leonard Kendall, who's fairly new with us, but comes also from the public sector and has been working on zoning projects with us. So I have a team to help me, and we also have other individuals if we need.
Right now, hopefully not for a tremendously long. Is that going to be, obviously that he would be tremendously helpful, or she would be tremendously helpful in working with you? Was that going to be a setback for you, not having someone that was
involved to have staff that really understands the code and knows what's broken and what's, hasn't been working and what has been working. But I kind of the other people in the city that, have knowledge of the code, and then, we will, what we think could be improved and our ideas and best practices. So, it's definitely something that is a helpful thing to have people that have good, background, but not gonna stop us.
Okay. Jeremy, do we have a list? I know there's a lot of stuff that seems like every time we do some kind of project, there's an issue that we have that this should be changed. Have we compiled a list somewhere of key areas that we're gonna look at, or is it just basically we're starting over again, essentially, and rewriting everything?
I think a lot of it will be starting over in organization and then code sections itself. But part of the work that Liz and her team will be doing right off the bat will be meeting with the building department, planning commission to understand, and BZA, where are we granting variances? Where are we coming into these regular issues at consistently at different meetings that we need to make sure we address? So I don't know that there's a written list, but there's identify those common issues as part of this process.
Okay. All right. This is an important thing. This is a big one. So I'm glad we're coming down this road. So Liz, glad to have you on board. Andy, do you have any comments or questions for him?
All good.
Okay. Anyone else on council? This is finance, but we took this here so we would have more time for committee of the whole. Is anyone else on council having the questions they want to ask Liz before we say thank you and goodbye? Anything else you wanted to add on that?
No, just that, like I said, this is the first reading. So if anyone has any questions that come up after the fact, or you get into the proposal and you have a question, don't hesitate to reach out and I'll try to answer it. And if not, I'll loop Liz in and we can try to address that before the next meeting.
Okay. All right, very good. Well, Liz, we're glad to have you on board. This is something we've wanted to do for a long time, so I'm glad we're getting rolling with this. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and we're excited to work on it and get started.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you, Liz.
All right, thank you.
And just for the felon at $94,000. So, all right, so that is on first reading. Mayor, is there anything else you wanted to add on that? Or are you good?
No, I would probably just make sure everybody and manage expectations, although we're excited to get this started because we've been talking about this a long time. And personally, I've been on planning commission for a long time, so I've seen the issues firsthand.
Mhm.
But this is going to be a long process. So, and then I think we all have to understand there's a huge public component to this. I think that we have to make sure that residents understand why we're doing it and understand the reasons, what's best practices. So that will be a large component. And I think that we're going to have to lean on city council to make sure that we're all coming out with a unified message of why this is important for city planning in the future.
Right. Yeah, and just to piggyback on the mayor, the contract says 14 to 18 months. So, I mean, yeah, you're talking about a year and a half from the start of work, so it's going to be a while. So, all right, very good. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Liz. Appreciate it. You're welcome to stay if you want, but you probably don't want to.
I think I'll go feed my kids dinner.
Okay, sounds good. Take care. Thank you. All right, the last item we have on our agenda for finance is Ordinance 2021-14. And this is just repealing and amending various sections of the ordinances of the city of Brooklyn in dealing with the classification plan and collective bargaining agreements. Mr. Butler, did you want to elaborate at all on this? I see your picture there, but I don't hear anything.
I'm here. Sorry
There
about
you are. That's okay.
Can you hear me okay? Because I am getting a little bit of stoppage on the audio, and I want to make sure that's not.
You just fine anyways.
All right. So the ordinance, and you're speaking of, I'm pulling up my docket now. I'm sorry I had to join the conversation late. You're speaking of the ordinance that affects various positions within the city government?
Right, correct. 2021-14. Yes, sir.
Okay. The actual jobs that we've got in the city, from time to time, that city council adopts doesn't harmonize with the is to try to update the codified ordinances in our workforce, but also would update the description. So and I'll just provide real quick overview. When we go before the city, be considered classified civil service positions or union positions, unless they're director level positions. All of those make their way into the class plan of the city that's adopted by the commission. The positions that are in that ordinance, in that draft ordinance, don't conform to the class plan that's currently in place, that's been approved by city council and the civil service commission. We just want to make sure to update the code to make sure that everything is in harmony.
Okay, makes sense. Very good. All right. Ms. Shellhurst, you good?
Good.
Okay, that's all we have for finance, Mayor, or Mr. Raguse. Did you want to hit on your report now, or did you want to wait till the meeting itself? Tom?
For me, I don't really have anything to add other than my email on Thursday. Curious if there's any questions on that, specifically related to the income tax withholding section of my email.
Oh, I am good.
And that's all I have.
Ian? All right, thanks, Tom. All right, then I will go ahead and make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
To adjourn, Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, let me just make sure. It looks like everyone's here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, there it is, Andy. Okay. All right, I will go ahead and call the committee of the whole to order. Mary Jo, can you please call the roll?
Mary Belbeer,
Here.
Kevin Tansky,
Here.
Sue Grodick,
Here.
Ron Van Kirk,
Here.
Meg Ryan Shaki.
Here.
Sorry. I can't hear you. I don't know why.
She said here. I heard her.
Oh, you did. Oh, I'm sorry. Andy Selhertz,
Here.
Yeah.
Kathy Pucci.
Kathy Pucci is absent this evening, excused.
Thank you.
Sure. Just one item real quick that we'll mention, then we're gonna make a motion to go into executive session unless the mayor has something else before then. But resolution 2021-15, this is authorizing the mayor to enter into a mutual aid agreement with the Cleveland Metro Parks Police Department. Mayor, did you want to have Chief Melky talk about this, or do you want to wait till a later meeting for time's sake?
I think we have enough time. Chief, do you want to mention the importance of this?
Sure, I'll just keep it quick. The Metro Park Police Department used to be called the Metro Park Rangers. They're going through all the communities that they do business with, and they're updating their own records and just refreshing the mutual aid agreements with those departments. And we're next on the list. I believe Law Director Mr. Butler has reviewed it. They made some tweaks, and what you have in front of you now has been perused by himself and myself, and we're in agreement with it.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that, Chief. Anyone else on the committee have any questions regarding that?
I just had one question I was curious about. Would it only be in the Metro Park area that's in Brooklyn, or could you be called to other areas of the Metro Parks also?
It just references the area in our city.
Uh-oh, I think we lost Sue.
No, that's it. That
There we go.
was my only question. Thank you.
Before we go into executive session?
Yeah, just quickly, so I sent out the email, building commissioner left. We have that job posted. That will be till the end of the month. Our housing manager job closed last Friday. We had 39 people apply. So Jeremy has the task of going through and weeding through those and getting down to a manageable number to interview. I want to thank everybody for showing up to the work session and giving feedback and Creation Center. I think it was a very productive meeting. I think you'll keep planning forward for good things in our city. And then the last thing is I did send out an email about whether we want to go in person or not. It doesn't seem like we have everybody on board to go in person at this time. So I don't know when we'll get there, but I mean, I'll continue for those one or two people that are not opposed to coming back in person. We will still have to continue to follow safety guidelines and be safe as possible for everyone to feel comfortable. Those couple people are just going to have to tell me when they're ready. The best of internet, it can be, I know it's frustrating for me sometimes when some of you guys cut out. I don't know if it's me or you. I'm personally ready to go back in, but I've said from the beginning, I want to make sure everybody's comfortable. So, and that concludes my couple comments, and I'll turn it back to you, Ron, to go to executive session unless there are any comments.
All right, before we go into executive session, anyone else on council have anything want to add, or excuse me, on the committee have anything want to add?
I do. I just wanted to verify that this is, this is unusual going into executive session. I think this is the first time we've done it. I just want to verify that it's very safe and personal and, the right thing,
You mean doing it on Zoom? You mean doing it through Zoom?
Yes.
Yeah. We did, I think, one other time. I think that was one of the meetings, the last meeting you were not there. And we asked that question before, but yeah, Mary Jo can answer that probably better than anybody.
Okay.
So we go into what's called like a closed meeting. We did this a few times with negotiations, and only those people who are invited to those closed meetings are able to listen. And so Mary Jo can control that. And she will not be one of those people in the closed meeting. And then we'll have to let her know when it's over, so she lets us all back in.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. All right. Yeah, and I'll just text Mary Jo when we're done. All right. Anyone else on the committee have anything to add?
Minutes.
Oh, I skipped them again.
That's all right.
You're so patient with me in the beginning of this. All right. We do have minutes from our last meeting dated March 22nd. Are there any comments or questions regarding the minutes? All right. I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
To approve the minutes, Mary Bellbeer,
Abstain.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, very
Okay.
good. All right, then I'll make a motion that council adjourn to executive session. Including the executive session will be the mayor, law director Butler, and our finance director, Mr. Raguse. And this is in regards to matters of personnel. So I'll make that motion.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if you wouldn't mind, I'd just like the record to reflect that those personnel matters relate to the employment of a public employee or official and the compensation of a public employee or official. Those are two of the enumerated executive session reasons. I'd just like to get those on the record.
All right, so I'll make a motion, move into executive session as noted for those reasons by Mr. Butler.
Second.
To adjourn to executive session, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Okay, give me a moment. You should all see, I hope that you enter into another room. Okay. Mhm.
All right, everyone make it back successfully. Let's see, I don't see, I don't see Kevin.
Kevin and Mary, maybe.
Yeah, I don't see Kevin. Oh, there's Mary. Let's see if Tansky figures it out.
There he is.
There he is. All right, we got it.
Okay. This is all new to me. I feel,
Hey, you did it. You made it.
I know.
Okay, Mary Jo, are we re-rolling? We good?
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion that the committee of the whole adjourn.
Second.
to adjourn, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky. Oh, wait.
Yes.
Okay. Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
Okay, you good, Mary Jo?
Yes.
All right, I'll call the council meeting to order. Mary Jo, can you please call the roll?
Mary Belbeer,
Here.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Here.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Here.
Andy Selhertz.
Here.
Okay.
All right, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, at this time, we will turn it over to Councilman Balbier for our opening.
Well, tonight I would like to request a moment of silence, but with a special intention for all students throughout the country, but especially our Brooklyn City School students. This is an extremely impressionable time in their lives. Just like adults, they are dealing with loneliness, anxiety, lack of socialization with this pandemic, and they've been shortchanged in so many ways. So now I would like to call just a moment of silence for all students, but especially our Brooklyn City students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Balbier. The first item on the agenda this evening is the approval of minutes from our last meeting dated March 22nd. Are there any comments or questions on those? I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
To approve, Mary Belbeer,
Abstain.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
Yes.
All right, at this time we have our public session. Mary Jo, were there any emails for
There were
public session?
none.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on with reports of committees, commissions, and boards. We'll begin this evening with the Finance Committee. At the Finance Committee, we did discuss 3 notifications of monies awarded, the first of which was a recreational trail grant from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, and this is for trail work in the Footbridge and Memorial Park, and that was for $150,000. Next was a grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation for a speed trailer, and that is for the Safe Routes to School project, and that was for $7,000. And the last notification was a grant for the biannual tree planting from the Cuyahoga County Healthy Urban Tree Canopy Program for $17,595, and that's for trees that will be planted throughout the city coming up here shortly. Then we discussed Ordinance 2021-13. This is up for third reading and adoption. This is enacting Section 135.031, adoption of the debt policy for the city. Resolution 2021-16. This is authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with McBride Dale Clarion, and this is a consulting services company for the rewrite of our zoning code. And we had a guest, the project manager, Liz, that will be the project manager for this. She was on to answer questions regarding this rewrite. The cost of this is $94,000. This is on first reading, but once it's approved, if it is approved, once it's approved, they'll begin their work within 2 weeks, and the project could take anywhere between 14 and 18 months. And so it is a rather lengthy project. A lot of people involved, including residents and all the different departments in the city. So a long time in coming, but it's a good first step towards getting this off of our checklist of things that need to get done. And then lastly was Ordinance 2021-14. This is on first reading. This is repealing and amending the various sections of our city of Brooklyn just to conform to the city's updated classification plan. And Mr. Butler explained this as basically updating ordinances that we kind of have outdated job positions, job titles. And so this ordinance cleans up several of those in the city, and that was on first reading. The Finance Committee meets at 6:15 before the start of all council meetings. All are welcome to attend at this point via Zoom. We'll now move on with the Recreation Board. Councilman Tansky.
Thank you. Recreation Board meeting will be held on April 19th in the Rec Center meeting room at 7 p.m. I am also in talks with Jason Nolde from GDP, and also had a conversation with our rec director, Jack Abruzzi, on this power generator that I mentioned before for the rec center. He will, Mr. Nolde will be checking on this unit to see if there's any possible grants, energy grants, or House bills that would cover the cost of the unit. Again, like I said, I talked about this before. I did talk with Jack earlier about the possible of generators to power the rec center in case of a power failure. Well, this unit that I was talking about, where it will not only power the rec center continuously on natural gas, it would heat the pools at the same time with no charge. So it would do two things at once. It would heat the pools and power our entire rec center with no loss of power in case of storms. As soon as I find out more information from Jason Nolde, I will get back to council and I will get back to the rec board, and possible, depending how far we get with this, I will also be calling a sustainability meeting. And that pretty much concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Tansky. Next up is our Domestic Abuse Commission, Councilman Ryan Shockey.
Thank you. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month to raise awareness and empower people through education and engagement. Child abuse and neglect impacts 1 in 7 children. Join the Brooklyn Domestic Abuse Commission in creating awareness by wearing blue this Wednesday, April 14th. If you have social media, you can join other organizations around Ohio with the hashtag Ohio Wears Blue to help raise awareness. The Journey Center is also offering training this month on April 23rd to discuss the basics of child abuse, including types of abuse and neglect, and ways you can help a young person experiencing abuse. If interested, you can register online at journeyneo.org. And that ends my report.
Sorry about that. I pushed the wrong button on my computer and couldn't get back to the screen. Thank you for that. Next up is our legislative update, Councilwoman Balbier.
Thank you. This past week, Ohio's new so-called Stand Your Ground law went into effect. This law modified Ohio's Castle Doctrine law, which has been in effect since 2008. This doctrine basically stated that you can use deadly force if you believe you are facing serious bodily injury or death, and you have no duty to retreat if this takes place in your own home or vehicle. Any other places you must retreat if possible. The new law no longer restricts the places you legally do not have to retreat from, changing residence and vehicle to any place you are legally allowed to be, which apparently means just about anywhere. The law as to when an individual may use deadly force remains the same. The person attacked, without fault of his own, may use deadly force only if he reasonably and honestly believes that deadly force was necessary to prevent serious bodily harm or death. The new law, however, removes the duty to retreat or run away. If you are in a place you have a legal right to be. There are obviously people and politicians, both for and against this Stand Your Ground law. Opponents refer to it as shoot first or make my day laws, and states that other states that have such laws have disproportionately harmed minorities and increased homicides. There is already a bill being introduced that would put the duty to retreat back in state law by limiting the places where the duty is not required and not keeping it just any place a person has a right to be. We are all hearing a lot of talk from our federal government about possibly raising the minimum wage. The figure of $15 an hour has been mentioned. Ohio, of course, has a state minimum wage. That minimum wage was raised this year. For non-tipped employees, it is raising from $8.70 to $8.80 an hour. Base pay for tipped employees is rising from $4.35 to $4.40 an hour. Not exactly a difference maker. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Next up is our Fair Housing Committee, Councilman Ryan Shockey.
Thank you. Mayor Gallagher signed a proclamation recognizing April as Fair Housing Month in the city of Brooklyn. April 11th marked the 53rd anniversary of the passage of the Fair Housing Act, which provides a national policy of fair housing without regard to race, color, religion, sex, familial status, disability, and national origin, and encourages fair housing opportunities for all. That ends my report.
Thank you. Next up, the Committee of the Whole met following the Finance Committee prior to this meeting. Just one item on the agenda this evening was Resolution 2021-15, and this is allowing the mayor to enter into a mutual aid agreement with the Cleveland Metro Parks Police Department. Really no change in what our current status with them is. You call the Cleveland Metro Park Rangers or something like that. It's just a title change, and so they're updating the records. But our mutual aid with them will continue as it has been in the past per our police chief. And then council did go into executive session to discuss matters of personnel when it comes to compensation of employees. Again, all Committee of the Whole meetings take place following the finance meeting before our regular council meetings. All are welcome to join us at this time via Zoom. We'll now move on with reports of council. We'll begin this evening with Mrs. Balbier.
Oh, okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to say welcome back to everyone after the Easter break. It was such a beautiful holiday. Easter is one of my favorite times. It's always a sign of hope and a new birth. I'd also like to mention that 35% of Ohioans have already gotten their first shot. Once again, I'm talking about the pandemic. It seems to be a daily topic in our house. But anyways, I encourage all residents to get it. Everyone in my family pretty much has gotten it. Some of us have gotten sick on the second one, but it was, doable. And some of us haven't. But I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I'm just done with this pandemic. I'm just done with it already. Well, I don't think the pandemic is really done with us yet. So that's just my take on that. I wanted to say how beautiful driving through our city this past weekend was. So beautiful. The grass was green, the trees were blossoming, and it just looked absolutely beautiful. I was so proud to be part of Brooklyn. It was just beautiful. So if you get a chance, drive through our city and see how pretty it is. It is wonderful. It is just a pretty city. I'd also like to mention, and I have to tie a string around my finger so I don't forget, I seem to forget every single year, that at the rec center, we're going to be having on Saturday, April 24th, a Shred It Day from 10 to 1. And for some reason, I seem to think that it was unlimited, but I'm not sure how many boxes you are allowed to bring. Also, if you get a chance to drive down Rodone and look at the Stickney Creek project there, that's really coming along nicely. It's just such a difference already. You can see the change, and it's going to be beautiful. Lastly, I'd like to mention that I'm so happy that Safety Town is coming back. I remember taking my kids to that. I think my son, it was just my son. I don't think my daughter went to it, but it was over here by the old Rodone school and in the parking lot. And it was just a great opportunity for the kids. My son just loved it, driving around in those little cars and hearing all the rules and regulations. So, and maybe our rec commissioner may add a little bit more to that, what's actually happening. And that completes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Tansky. Kev, you're muted. You're muted, Kev.
There we go. Hit it unmuted. Okay. Good evening. I would like to offer my sincerest condolences to Council President Ron Van Kirk and his family on the passing of his mother, Deborah L. Van Kirk. Many thoughts and prayers are with you during this sad time. And I'm going on to Chief Melky. Had many calls this week from many residents, and I'm getting more and more of them with this Ridge Road and this Dunkin' Donuts. A couple of these residents almost got in some serious accidents with this line of traffic coming up Ridge Road going south, causing only one lane to be open going south, right in front of Dunkin' Donuts and then coming back towards Bidoff. I guess my question is to Chief Melky, and I know I'm putting you on the spot there, Chief, but I don't know where else to go with this because it's just getting worse and I'm getting more and more calls. So one, synchronizing these lights, I noticed that these lights are starting to go in their own direction again. And I know under 480 Bridge, we are going to get some new timers eventually, but these other three lights, maybe we could check them to make sure those are flowing green at the same time. Because I notice when I'm out there, sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Second thing is this traffic from this Dunkin' Donuts, and I don't know if Starbucks is involved in this, but the traffic is just jamming up that one lane. Only one lane you'll be able to move south because the other lane becomes stagnant. And I know this is costly and it's been brought up to me by residents. Is it possible to get an officer out there to direct this traffic in to flow it? Or what can we do to move this traffic off Ridge Road? Because the only thing that's going to happen here is going to get worse. And I guess a couple of our residents, when I've gotten calls, had very close calls on being hit or hitting them. So Chief, if you can weigh in on this, either at your report or now, I would appreciate it. Again, trying to do something with that one lane being held all the way down the street is causing this traffic to be backed up. And I appreciate it.
Mr. Tansky, I'd be happy to comment now. The Dunkin' Donuts issue, I've been in conversations with the management at Ridge Park Square and also with the manager and owner at Dunkin' Donuts. It's something that they're aware of. It's kind of hard to pin down exactly when it's happening. I know the morning hours are the worst. They've looked into a different order taking method, a different queuing area in the parking lot there. It's something that they're talking about. They've had conversations with the engineering firm and even our engineers on the city side. Something that we're still monitoring and watching. Oh, I can tell you we've had 0 accidents related to that. Regarding the lighting, or I'm sorry, regarding the complaints, I've gotten no further complaints. I know our officers are to log anytime that they're finding that traffic's backing up. But I will take a look back to make sure that we haven't gotten any other complaints on them, and I'll be in contact with the manager at Dunkin' Donuts to let him know your concerns. And regarding the lighting and the signalization, again, I know you and I have had these conversations. The project, the Ridge Road signalization project, has been put on hold because of the pandemic and traffic patterns aren't where they were before. The mayor and I have been reached out to ODOT and NOACA to try to find out when they're going to reinstitute that study. And we haven't gotten a definitive answer yet. They want to wait. But I will, again, have signal service double check the timing and the clocks on all the clocks on the signals to make sure that they are all synchronized.
If I could just, I'm sorry, Council President Van Kirk, if I could just say one other thing.
Yeah.
You know, I have to stress to people, this makes it difficult. There are 3 cities in the mix. So we could have signal services out here every single day fixing our signals. But if the signals are not timed going with Cleveland through the bridge and then past Brook Park to Parma, we're wasting our time. So this is why it's so vital to have NOACA move forward with their project, because it's 3 cities that we have to synchronize in order for the flow to continue to make sense.
A quick comment. And I understand that with the synchronizing, I get that. But it makes it even worse when there's only one lane going south. So back to the chief. Is there also a way to flow this traffic into that Ridge Park Square to get that traffic immediately off that road? Is there where to store these cars so they're not being basically parked on Ridge? Because that's what it looks like to me, parked. And you have 2 problems. When the lights are not synchronized, and like the mayor said, when you can't get all the lights all the way down synchronized, that's another issue. But then when you only have one lane going south, now you got a big issue. You got everybody going to work late. I have already told residents, if you're going west, climb on the Tiedemann and going. If you're going east, take it down to State Road and pick it up. But that's fine and dandy. But when you got to tell people in Brooklyn to go miles out of the way to get on the freeway when we're right down the street, it tends just doesn't sound right when we have one company that is backing this traffic up, and if there's some way we can move it into that empty parking lot in Ridge Park Square, which there's enough room to move those cars in there, store them in there, either going inside, picking up your coffee, or wrapping around to that drive-through, which I know that's what they're doing. Is that a possible solution, Chief?
So I've had this exact conversation with their engineers and their management, is redesigning the queuing area around the store and into the parking lot. That's something that they're looking at for sure. I do know the store, Dunkin' Donuts itself, wasn't scheduled for a redo until sometime in 23, and they're looking at moving that up, which would include redesigning the parking lot and the queuing area. That's something that they're looking at again in the future. And the immediate solution was coming up with an alternative order taking method that something like Chick-fil-A uses. Again, it's not something I'm too familiar with, but they're trying to get more staff on and get this new order system up and running. This pandemic's changed the business model for a lot of businesses. I can tell you this is not a Brooklyn only problem. I've been to North Ridgeville where their Dunkin' Donuts backs up. Their Dunkin' Donuts in Parma and Parma Heights that both back up onto the street. Chick-fil-A on Ridge Road in Parma backs up onto the street. These are all problems that, because of this pandemic, business models are being changed, and these businesses are trying to adapt to it the best that they can. So we, as a city and as a police department, we're working with them and letting them know when the problems are occurring and getting to the point where we can help them as much as we can.
And I appreciate it, Chief. Any way we can lift that traffic off of Ridge Road would be great. It just puts the administration in the city along with council to have to tell residents to drive way over there to get on the freeway when they have their own on and off ramps off their own street in their city. So it's putting us in a bad position because we actually see it ourselves, what's going on over there. And I appreciate everything you're doing and whatever you can do to open that lane up so we can get traffic to flow south on a much quicker and efficient way. Thanks.
Is that it, Kev?
That concludes my reports, Mr.
All right,
President.
thanks, sir. All right, thank you. Next up is Mrs. Grodick, and I apologize, I skipped her on the Planning Commission, so she'll give her Planning Commission report and then her council report.
Thank you. Planning Commission met on April 5th and considered several items on the agenda. The first was a request from Total Image Solutions for a freestanding sign at the gas station at 4295 Tiedemann Road. The commission voted to table that request to address some of the safety concerns at that gas station at that corner. Second on our agenda was a request from Grand Automotive LLC for a window sign at 3540 Ridge Road. That was approved for 60 days with a review after 60 days from the Planning Commission. The next thing was a request from Cleveland American LLC and Holdings Cleveland American LLC for a final site plan. That was approved contingent. I'm sorry, the address is 10575 Memphis Avenue. That was approved contingent on the city engineer's request and approvals. The next item was a request from Prime Properties for a final site approval plan at the gas station at 3580 Ridge Road. The commission approved that as preliminary because there were several changes made that were significant enough that we didn't feel comfortable with approving it as a final site. And the last thing on our agenda was a request from Bowen for preliminary site approval for the new city center at 8000 Memphis Avenue. And the commission did approve those preliminary plans. The next Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for April 6th at 6 p.m. At this time, it does look like it will remain remote. And that ends my Planning Commission report, and also Mr. Van Kirk, I did not have a personal council report today anyways.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Grodick, and I apologize for skipping you there. Was not intentional. All right,
I
next
was
up
like
is,
you, I didn't have a regular one.
oh, okay, all right, good. I lucked out. All right, next up is Mrs. Ryan Shockey.
Earth Day is April 22nd this year. Keep Brooklyn Beautiful is going to do our kickoff of the cleanups with an on your own event from April 22nd to Sunday, April 25th. We're encouraging residents to take a walk around your neighborhood and pick up the trash you see sometime during that weekend. We would love for participants to still sign up on the KBB volunteer portal, which you can find online at volunteer.kab.org. KAB as in Keep Brooklyn Beautiful, or Keep America Beautiful, sorry. Or email myself or Andy so we can keep track of the number of participants. And that ends my report.
Thank you. Next up, Mr. Selhertz.
Thank you. Echo Mr. Tansky's remarks. My condolences to you and your family on the loss of your mother. Also second what Meg just mentioned about Earth Day. You can find that event, the plugging for Earth Day on April 22nd, or other events that we have on volunteer.kab.org. Last week, I had a phone call from Carrie Wilson from Real Term Energy. They finally got all the numbers correlated with the numbers from First Energy and their couple systems. We should be getting a final report any day now. They're also working on some numbers to see what savings we have if we do design and development with them. So hopefully within the next council meeting, we'll have a final product to give to you. And this has not cost us anything at this point until we get a final audit report. And Bubba's Yard is back once again this year. It is on Tuesday, April 27th. It will be at 3 p.m. It'll be in the parking lot of St. Elias Church next to the Senior Center. And the last comment is Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce is doing a virtual Taste of Brooklyn this year. Check out the Chamber of Commerce's webpage for details on it. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Selhertz. Just one question, and I meant to call, Jeremy, I meant to call you earlier today, I forgot, but since we have you on here, I thought I'd ask because other people I'm sure are wondering as well. When will the playground equipment on Marquardt, when will that all be finished? Do you have an idea on that? Or not Mr. Rowan. I meant, oh, Jack's not even on here, is he?
I'm on.
I meant Jack. Oh, you are? Oh, there you are. Oh, you have a nice little BRC logo down there. I didn't see it. All right. Yes, sir. Could you answer that for me?
So the playground equipment's in. We're actually just at the mercy of the mulch companies right now. Just being the spring season, we're waiting on them. There's about 200 yards of mulch that needs to get blown in. So we're actually just waiting to get on their schedule. It could possibly be the end of this week, next week. So we're just at the mercy. We've contacted a few different companies and we're on the list right now. So that's kind of what we're waiting for.
Okay. And what is going in? I apologize. I should know this because we went over this, but what is going in next to the restrooms on the other side?
That is the pavilion / shade structure, whatever you want to call it. So we're installing that ourselves as a city. So they just poured the footers, and we're just kind of working with our department and service department to get that installed. So we're looking at a few more weeks on that.
Very good. It looks great, man. That park is beautiful. So great job to you guys over there. Looking forward to having everything finished. There may or may not have been some kids playing on it already. It wasn't my kids, but it may have been some kids playing on it already. So they're excited too. So great job on that. All right, and that concludes my report as well. All right, we'll now move on with legislation this evening. The first item we have are 3 notifications for the first of which is from the Ohio Department of Natural Resources, recreational trail grant for trail work in Footbridge and Memorial Park for $150,000. The second is a grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation for a speed trailer relating to safe routes to school for $7,000. Then a grant for a biannual tree planting from Cuyahoga County Healthy Urban Tree Canopy for $17,595. So very pleased that we were getting funding for those 3 things. The first item on our agenda this evening is Ordinance 2021-13. This is up for third reading and adoption. This is the adoption of the debt policy of the codified ordinances of the city of Brooklyn. Are there any comments or questions? I'll make a motion that council adopt.
Second,
To adopt, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
yes,
All right, then the three items that are new this evening, all are on first reading. The first of which is Ordinance 2021-15, authorizing the mayor to enter into a mutual aid agreement with the Cleveland Metro Parks Police Department. Resolution 2021-16, authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with McBride Dale Clarion for consultancy services relating to studying and drafting provisions of the zoning code following the city's adoption of the master plan. And the cost of this will be $94,000. And then lastly is Ordinance 2021-14, repealing and amending various sections of the codified ordinance of the City of Brooklyn in order to conform the code to the city's updated classification plan and collective bargaining agreements. And that concludes our agenda for this evening. Does anyone else on the council, any of the directors or mayor have anything to add? Yeah, go ahead, Mrs. Belbier.
Yes, I'm sorry, Ron. I'm sorry for not expressing my condolences at the loss of your mom. Truly sorry to hear that. That's it.
Thank you. I appreciate that from everyone. All right. Does anyone else have anything else they need to add? Okay. I will make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
To adjourn, Mary Belbeer,
Yes.
Kevin Tansky,
Yes.
Sue Grodick,
Yes.
Ron Van Kirk,
Yes.
Meg Ryan Shaki,
Yes.
Andy Selhertz.
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a blessed evening.